Hello and welcome to the East Lampeter Township Public Meeting. All participants are now informed that this meeting is being recorded. This meeting is also being offered virtually utilizing Zoom, which is a cloud-based platform for remote video and audio conferencing. The Zoom application is free to the public. The general public is therefore able to join the meeting by connection through the internet or by calling in by phone. The public is also able to observe the meeting on the Township's YouTube channel. Please continue to check the Township website calendar for any updates related to these public meetings. Agendas for these public meetings will also be available on the Township's website. Please be reminded that this meeting is being video and audio recorded and will be posted to the Township's YouTube channel for viewing. The meeting will now proceed with the chairman calling the meeting to order and identifying all other members present in the meeting room and those joining the meeting via Zoom. The chairman will then confirm those members joining by Zoom can be heard.
Okay. All right, good. All right, good evening. Welcome to the Monday, October 2nd, 2023 meeting of the East Lampeter Township Board of Supervisors. We have in the room this evening, Mike Thornton, Ethan Demi, Roger Root, staff. Joining us remotely is Supervisor Corey Meyer. Corey, can you hear us?
Yep, can hear you fine. Thanks.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So we'll be doing a roll call for the vote this evening. There are agendas at the back of the room. If you haven't gotten one, please grab one. If you would, please sign your name back there so we have for public record who attended the meeting. If you haven't attended our meeting in the past year or two, everything is being recorded. It's on our YouTube channel, so you can find a link to that through our website. Okay. Someone from the public does want to come in and comment tonight, staff will let us know, and they will either pull them in or they'll just read us their comments. Okay. All right. So if you please rise and join me in saying the pledge of the flag. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag and state and to the republic which stands one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Okay, and item number 3 is for public comment. We have moved public comment to the beginning of our meetings. It's public comment for items that are not on the agenda. So if you're here for an agenda item, you want to speak to an agenda item, we can wait until that comes up. This would be for items that are for public comment, non-agenda. Anything here to speak to the board? Okay. All right, thank you. 4 is item number 4 is our consent agenda. 4A, we have the approval of the October 2nd Board of Supervisors meeting agenda, approval of the minutes of the Monday, August 28th special meeting of the Board of Supervisors. The item number 4C is approval of the minutes of the Monday, September 18th regular meeting of the Board of Supervisors. Item number D is approval to pay invoices from all funds. That's for a total of $1,254,034.85. I believe there are 2 items of note staff has called out here for us. Would be $31,357.07. The PPL for costs to relocate poles for Lincoln Highway Phase 3 project, and then $19,396.15. to All Steel for flex space office workstations. We're moving lots of paper products that have piled up for years in file cabinets and in all kinds of boxes and things. We're scanning them and digitizing everything. So we've opened up space for offices back here. Okay, what's your pleasure, gentlemen?
Make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Second. A motion by Corey. Thank you, Corey. Second by Ethan. Questions, concerns? Okay, hearing none. Mike? Aye. Ethan? Aye. Roger? Aye. Corey?
Aye.
Chair votes aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much. Okay, item number 5, Lancaster Library presentation. Want to come up and just introduce yourself and let the public know who you are, and then you can dive in.
My name is Melissa Holland, and I am the Executive Director of Lancaster Public Library. Well, we begin our next chapter. On June 1st, we opened our brand new doors to our brand new building in Ewell Plaza. It's been a long road to get there, but we are thrilled to be there. We officially became opened on June 27th. But we had several weeks of soft opening and we've had great success since. It has been a very busy summer and a very busy September. We begin every board meeting and in addition to our staff meetings with our mission and vision statement. It reads as follows. The Lancaster Public Library inspires, empowers, and strengthens our community by connecting people with information, ideas, and enriching experiences. By providing equitable access to vital educational resources, exceptional programming, and community building opportunities, the Lancaster Public Library is recognized as a dynamic center of knowledge and a cornerstone of a thriving Lancaster community. And I say this about the staff because before we start any new program or any new service, we first make sure that our mission, it upholds our mission. 22% of East Lampeter residents have a library card. Last year, they borrowed 74,992 pieces of material. That may have been actual pieces that they held in their hand or downloadables. In total, on the low end of estimating how many dollars that would have saved each the group of donor or group of patrons, $1,499,840. Our new location has enabled us to provide new services and greater access to some information. We are finally fully ADA accessible, meaning that you can get anywhere in the building, no matter if you're on wheels or if you are walking. We have ample parking, being that we are the anchor of a 9-story parking garage. For the first time, we have a dedicated space for our young adult readers, our teens and our tweens, where they can be themselves. We have furniture which enables them to relax in the way they want to use the materials the way they want to. They have 2 study rooms that they can use, and we have laptops available to them. We have come to our 21st century technology, including lockers that provide 24 hours, 7 days a week, access to materials that are on hold. One of the special features of our new building is that we have an outdoor terrace overlooking Ewell Plaza, and we have a variety of sizes of meeting rooms. We have boardrooms, community rooms, offices where the community can come in and rent the space, and nonprofits can come in and meet with their patrons and their customers right in the library. But our library today are not our great-grandmothers or grandmothers or even our mother's libraries. We go way beyond books. We had the Duke Street Business Center. Being that we're no longer on Duke Street, it is just our business and reference center. We figured that business is just one part of reference. So we have a glass enclosed room that people can go in and either look at databases that aren't available anywhere else in the county or do research beyond business. We have increased our Autism Resource Center to include a variety of sensory issues. We have the Lancaster Historical Collection. We have hotspot devices. We have e-resources, including e-books, e-audio, and streaming services. We have programming for the very young. And when I say very young, we have had upward children that are 3 weeks old that have come to story times for our LACSIT to adults. And we have other things besides books, including American Girl dolls, tabletop and outdoor games, museum hats, baking pans, and musical instruments, including a Lancaster-made table harp and ukuleles. In the first 3 months of being open at Ewell Plaza on Duke Street, on Queen Street, we have been busier than ever. We issued 2,323 new library cards in 3 months. We welcomed over 56,000 visitors to our library. On a regular month, in our other location, we issued around 300 new cards. So being that we have certainly doubled and tripled some of those numbers. There is a state mandate for public libraries to spend 12% of their yearly expenditures on the collection. That means that we spend over $200,000 a month. And right now, looking at next year's budget, we will be ahead of that. We will be somewhere between around $208,000 that we will spend on our collection. We also continue to have the deepest and the largest collection of all the public libraries in Lancaster County. That means that even if people aren't coming to pick up the materials directly from us, our materials are traveling to all 13 other libraries so that their patrons can utilize our information. A fact that we're very proud of is that we have more staff members who have earned their MLS, the Masters of Library Science, than any other library here in the county. But we continue to raise upwards of 63+% of our annual operating budget. We are still underfunded by our government entities. This year, our national average has increased, while our expenditure, our per capita amount of money from municipal funding has decreased. Nationally, it is about almost $39 per person that is funded by their local municipality. We went from $1.49 to $1.35 per capita. That's a huge difference. And the numbers still remain that shows that we are an extremely busy library. We're the 8th largest service area, 18th largest catalog of materials, 29th in operating expenditures. But we are still ranked at 439 out of 450 libraries in Pennsylvania when it comes to municipal local funding. So that is why I am here today to say thank you very much for the funding that you have given us, and to ask if you will continue to fund us and to think about increasing that funding. And to make a formal request, we have 2 board members with us today, and Deborah Keys will be the one coming up to speak.
You give me the hard job.
Yes, I do.
Good evening. My name is Debbie H.O. Keys. And I'm a proud member of the Board of Trustees of the Lancaster Public Library. Most of you are probably too young to remember my dad, but my dad, Bob H.O., was a Manor Township supervisor for decades. In fact, he was chairman of the board. So I grew up listening to all things related. I understand firsthand what you have to do and how you have to allocate your money. So thank you very much. My grandchildren are the 6th generation of the H.O. family to enjoy the downtown Lancaster Public Library. So it was very easy for me to come tonight for this ask, because it's an important place for us. So here's the really hard part. Back in 2021, we received $17,020 from this municipality. But in 2022, East Lampeter decided to divide the donations between other libraries. That hurt us because the formula in dividing state money is tied directly to the amount that the library receives from its municipality. So we had a decrease not only in money from East Lampeter, but also from Pennsylvania State. Then in 2023, we asked all of our municipalities to provide a 9% increase from their 2021 funding. So that would have equated to East Lampeter giving a donation of $19,982, but we received $8,428. So that was a significant decrease locally and then also from the state. So now for 2024, we're asking you to please consider returning to the 2021 procedure of allocating the total amount to the Lancaster Public Library, which is your assigned service area library, so that we're not negatively impacted again. If you feel you cannot support that ask, then we'd ask you to please consider restoring it to the 9,200 from 2022. That's a lot of numbers. So that would be it. We just, thank you for your time. Thank you for what you do for East Lampeter and the Lancaster community through the intermunicipal council. That one.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Do you have any questions for either of us?
So, Ethan, you have been a very strong advocate for the way that this board has chosen to support and or allocate our resources to the places where our community members are patrons. Over the years, we've looked for ways to follow our residents where they're going to support them with resources. And I can see that it obviously, drew state dollars away from LPL. I think overall, we've continued to look for ways which we can have our dollars follow our residents to help support them. I'm assuming if our local dollars are going to other entities, state dollars are going there as well. Is that correct? Your thoughts, Ethan, just.
So I knew your dad well. He gave me lots of good advice.
I recognize your last name. I was trying to put that together.
So when I joined the board, I remember what we were funding the libraries at, but we've increased the funding to libraries significantly. Part of how we got there was I used to be on the board of the county library system back when it was reformatted, so I was part of the finance committee. So that's some of my backgrounds on libraries. So we've been increasing funding. Our target has been, which I think we hit this year, of $2.58 per capita total funding for libraries. And then we divide that based off of where our usage of our residents is. So the majority of our residents use libraries that are not part of the Lancaster City Library. So they're using Strasburg Heisler, they're using Manor Township, Hickory Valley, all the way down to Quarryville, some of them. But so we just take the top, I think 3 libraries and we adjust by that. So the usage, so I would expect that the new location should see that usage going up. So we've now hit that sort of 250 per capita, and over the years we've had these conversations. The fundraising numbers, how much are you raising from the private sector, just the donations from East Lampeter? There's probably folks who's happy to help knock on doors, ask for money for that. So our goal is to sort of hit that half of the target $5 per capita rate. Because our residents, they don't know that there's a county library system and then 14 different independent libraries. That there's state funding, there's a funding formula, and there's county funding that goes to the county system and funding formula. So I'd love to see an update to that funding formula. If that happened, I think, or I would definitely be advocating to use whatever that new funding formula is. 'Cause I think you should take into account not just where people are pulling from, but the funding formula gets a little tricky with. It's easy to create new funding formulas when there's new funding. It's hard when you have decreasing funding.
Unfortunately, too, the funding formula is more biased to the smaller libraries than to the larger libraries. So both Elizabethtown and Lancaster Public get hurt with that funding. State divides up the money per capita. It comes to us and it's divided in a variety of ways.
So it's pretty complex, but our residents don't know what they're going to do. So we've had kids and it's like sometimes the lifestyle is, hey, we're gonna go to Manchester Township, sometimes you go to Strasburg, sometimes you go to the city library. And that's it, just whatever fits the lifestyle the best. So that's sort of my position still is, we've increased funding. I think the new location should increase the usership. So if more users from East Lamphere are using the new library, funding should go up.
How are you figuring how many users go from one library to another library?
We just get a report from the county system.
Those numbers are something that we've had before us repeatedly, and we're always looking to see, you know, is it Ephrata, is it Strasburg, where are.
I think we definitely saw it. We paused the ratio during COVID because where people were going was all over the place. But since then, we've adjusted based on usage. And I expect the new location to probably pick up usage for you guys, and you guys will move in the number one, and then you've been the number three. Because more of our residents started going to other libraries.
You look like a fun bunch, so I'm going to just throw out an invitation here. We're having a big fun, not big, but it'll be a fun fundraiser on October 25th. It's called the Live Brewery. We'll have a couple of breweries there, so if you're looking for a fun time in downtown Lancaster, 5 to 8, October 25th, come on down.
Thank you, Debbie.
So your analyze, I mean, that certainly has to jump out the new cards. I mean, anything is new and is big with the parking if you have, has to draw people. So you're analyzing those new members and use. You must be, I was very interested to see what are the ages of people who are visiting School District of Lancaster. I think there was a lot of thought that that's really going to help the School District of Lancaster. We heard a lot about learning loss from COVID. Every school's got it. So can you comment to that?
I have to say, I don't know off the top of my head. I just did the new numbers. The millennials are the largest group of users, but it's really kind of equal between millennials, Generation X, and the baby boomers, very small. The preschoolers, because you can't get a library card until you are 5 in Lancaster County. That's pretty small. That's a 3% of our younger population. It's 3% of our oldest population. The baby boomers went up by a point this year because they're aging into the older group. But the largest groups are Generation Z and the millennials. So if people are surprised, I think, oh, young people aren't coming to the library. And they may not be coming into the library, but they're downloading our materials.
That would be super important to know. I mean, you are dealing with that generation, right?
But we are finding that actually, although there's a group that does, the younger group of patron users like holding books. It is the baby boomers who use the downloadables the most.
How's the locker system on the street working?
We're getting it up and running. It's been challenging, let's say. But once it's really utilized to its fullest, it should be pretty interesting.
And some people who aren't familiar with the city might have safety issues and things of that nature. Anything like that?
The city has really stepped up in working in that area. They have dedicated police officers for that area. They have dedicated social workers for that area, not just Yule Plaza, but bins and when we first actually moved, before we opened the doors, I wondered why. By the time we opened the doors, a lot had been cleaned up. And I mean, it's still an urban library. We're still going to have different things that you may not have at some of your other libraries. But I don't think the fear factor should be there at all. We do not see anybody being harassed about going into the library. And in fact, the mayor has thanked us for being there because there's a flow of people that keeps other people from just hanging out there. We do have security the whole time that we are open in the building, but
Glad to see all the strollers going in. We have an elevator, so they're, Yule Plaza is filled with families and pushing the strollers and holding the toddler hand and.
actually smaller brigade strollers. I'm having problems today. Right. Brigade of strollers coming to the library. There were like 6 of them. They were all walking down the street with some toddling and rolling. And we have a stroller parking area outside our children's library.
Wonderful.
And now that Diamond has been bought or has been gifted to WGIF, they are doing more and more. And in fact, they're having a children's gathering in Yule Plaza on the 14th Saturday. And they are utilizing the library for the rain location. But we're doing more and more partnerships and doing more things outside too.
Good, thank you.
Thank you.
Message received, okay?
Thank
you. Thank you, Lisa. I certainly will. So, go Britbox. Okay, on for old business, number 6. 6A, a financial security release request for the Byron Stormwater Management Plan number 22-12, 624 Willow Road. Anyone here for that? No one here. Township engineer has reviewed it, is recommending full release. So it'd be $29,921.98 full release. What's your pleasure?
Motion to approve full release additional based off of the Dave Miller Associates letter dated September 20th.
Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Mike. Questions, concerns? Okay, Mike. Aye. Ethan. Aye. Roger. Aye. Corey.
Aye.
There it says aye, motion carries. Thank you. Okay, new business, 7A. We have a public hearing in reference to a proposed zoning ordinance amendment for the C3 zone in reference to self-storage use. We will open the public hearing. Ralph, at this point, do I invite the petitioner to come forward, make their case, and then board or staff responds?
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate to have the property owner. Make
And I can close the hearing. Okay, good.
Yeah, if there's anybody else here.
Great, thank you. Just introduce yourself again, if you would.
Sure. My name is Mike Murray, the attorney on behalf of the applicant, East Lampshire Associates, for the owners of the East Town Center, which is located in the C3 zoning district. If you recall, we were here back in June with our preliminary request to have a zoning text amendment to allow existing vacant space located in the East Town Center, been vacant for over a decade. As you can see, it's not this particularly attractive location for the retail market, and to be able to convert that area into a climate controlled self-storage facility. If you recall, Discussion is self-storage today, as people are downsizing, we talk about our baby boomers and millennials, a lot more people living in apartments, they still keep all their stuff. So self-storage has become more of a retail service than it has been in the past. And as you see, a lot more attractive self-storage facilities where the average everyday person can go in, they can store their Christmas decorations and stuff that they don't really have room for. And so that's why we want to incorporate the center to make use. This is an adaptive reuse of an area of the center that's pretty much been dead for over a decade. I believe we presented this information to you back in June. Supervisor supported. Moving forward, at that point, we made an application to the township for a zoning text amendment that included a proposed zoning ordinance amendment. That submission, the township staff and consultants made their own revisions and changes to that ordinance to address any concerns that they had, and it was subsequently forwarded to the county and the township planning commissions for review and comment. And then we're here today requesting that the board adopt that ordinance this evening. So they're ready to move forward with making this area in the center vital again. So
Thank you. Appreciate that. Gentlemen, if you recall, we had an informal conversation back in June. Applicant came to us, presented their vision for where this was going. I think showed examples of some other locations that you all have worked in, perhaps maybe Quakertown, Bucks County, something. We looked at that. We had quite a bit of discussion about just some of the things Mr. Burke is referencing. The reuse of the space behind. Showing a picture of the facade, potential facade, for this right now. We looked at this as well too. Staff had asked us, to look at things, ingress and egress, vehicular traffic in and around. We talked about some of that stuff.
security cameras, that kind of stuff.
Security cameras, we talked about that as well too. We talked about staffing. I think, you're intending to, in this model, you would have a staff person there, perhaps Monday through Fridays, 9 to 5. Or something like that too.
And I said, the township staff and consultants made all their proposed recommendations before it was forwarded on to the county and the township. The applicant didn't object to any of the recommendations made. I mean, they're just excited to get moving on. So.
Good. So thoughts, further conversation, questions for the applicant? Anything, Corey, from you?
I saw the planning commission talked about having conditional use or special exception. I would love to hear just other board members' thoughts on requiring conditional use hearing for projects such as this.
Well, thanks, Corey. Appreciate that. Thoughts, response to the planning commission's review of it and recommendations. Steve?
Yeah, I reviewed the planning commission. I would say they did a really good job discussing the issue, and I agree with their recommendation, which is also consistent with the county planning commission's recommendation for conditional use as well. So I like the project itself. I like the narrow application of this specific zoning change. I don't think is the best way to go about it. Just similar to comments I made at the previous meeting as well, which is if it's by right, I think it should apply to more folks in the commercial 2 and 3 zones. And if we have more specific concerns to a property, then I think a conditional use path is a better way to go, which I think is consistent with both the county planning commission and the planning commission's recommendation.
Mike, thoughts?
Well, I think the concern was that, it would be isolated to certain entities, but it sounds like there are other opportunities for people to take advantage of it. So, I'm hearing something compelling. I'm not there yet.
Roger.
I'm with Mike, yeah.
What I'm hearing you say is this proposed text amendment allows for this same use in another area in the C3 zone. So, where the planning commission may be, recommending a different pathway conditionally, keeping the language in place, because they're seeing it as, a specific use, proposed use in a specific area. There are other areas in the township in the C3 that this would apply to. Yeah. Corey, your thoughts? You were looking for some feedback.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand. So I understand what the Township Planning Commission said about spot zoning. And I understand that I think that's a moot point because there are other C3 locations. I think my bigger question is why, again, by right or by conditional use? What benefit? Why wouldn't we do conditional use? Just because, yeah, and I'll give maybe a little more context. I don't know the other C3 location that this would fit in, and might that other area may not fit exactly per se. We might want to have more say in it, through a conditional use hearing to make sure that it meets the needs of that area. So I think my understanding is the spot zoning and the conditional use are two separate things. And I hear the point that the Township Planning Commission made about spot zoning. And I agree with the board saying that that's not an issue. I'm really trying to dig deeper into by right or conditional use.
Can I address real quick?
Yeah, please.
So I think part of the issues and concerns related to conditional use were addressed by the comments, or not the comments, the revisions that the township and consultants inserted into the ordinance to address the concerns they had with regard to submission of certain plans with regard to circulation and lighting and that kind of stuff to make sure things flowed in that area. So typically you would have a conditional use, so you can add conditions such as that. What we found here is the township staff and consultants went and put that right in the ordinance as part of the requirement for this particular use anyway. So although it's by right, we still have to submit that stuff that's under a staff consultant review to make sure that we have adequate security lighting, adequate circulation, adequate parking. I think there's probably landscaping buffers and that kind of stuff. So that's already included in it, and it's part of the review. And then the additional delay it takes to go through the hearing process, and then any further delay now, we have to add that stuff in the ordinance and add it and go through the whole review process. I mean, we've really been at this for over 6 months at this point.
So Corey, staff has worked with the applicant to create the language that by right, yes, but with significant number of requirements that would permit another user, another location we're talking about, perhaps another location of the township, to do this by right, but with the requirements in place that tailor it and take it down a pathway that makes it a suitable use for the other location. Staff and the applicant have spent time looking at the requirements that have now been built into this to ensure that another proposed use by right comes through And those requirements would allow for this potential future or additional applicant to be built and fit in a way by those requirements that would perhaps mirror this same similar look and feel and requirements. I mean, I think the staff has been working to try to ensure that the opportunity is there for someone else by right. Let's not place so many hurdles in front of another individual that may come in. Let's keep this moving, keep the process moving, keep the opportunity moving. But obviously there are significant requirements.
Yeah, understood. I'm fine with by
Thoughts, any additional, the work that staff has done on the language.
Yeah, following the meeting earlier this year, the board asked us to work with the property owner to develop an ordinance that, just to be clear, I don't mean to nitpick, but we offered suggestions. The applicant incorporated them into their proposal. It is their amendment proposal, it's not staff's. And incorporated them so that this would be a use by right in C3. There are a number of requirements that, although it is a by right use, that any applicant would have to meet. The difference, as Corey points out, with a conditional use process is that the use would be permitted by conditional use, but you have to go through the hearing process in order to gain an approval. Conditional use would be in front of the Board of Supervisors. Special exception would be in front of the zoning hearing board. They're essentially the same, just the venues are slightly different. So those are sort of all the options that uses can be plugged into. In this case, it's proposed as a use by right in the C3 zone. And it is my opinion anyway, that there are at least one other property that would potentially be able to use this amendment if the board does adopt it. So it's not a spot zoning situation in my view. And it's by right. So if it's adopted, anybody who fits the parameters could come in and do it.
Thank you, Ron. Appreciate that. Thank you for clarifying. Members from the public. Anyone interested in this topic? Okay, all right.
Is there a reason that you went for a zoning amendment in the first place instead of conditional use?
Well, you would need a zoning amendment for that.
So, for the public, it's great. Yeah, just state your name. Caleb? Okay, great. Thank you very much, Caleb. And your question again was?
Just, I guess you have to make the.
Good. Thank you, Caleb. Appreciate that. Okay. All right. Other comments? Yeah.
So the reason why we went this path was of Dean Cafiero. Because the township suggested that we go. We work back with the township. We put everything in the township in the text of it. So we're doing what you guys asked. And we're hoping that today we could, since we did everything you asked. The textbook. Okay.
Okay, other comments? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. Close the public hearing. Thank you very much. So, this has been advertised, language has been advertised, public's had opportunity to comment. County Planning Commission, Township Planning Commission has all commented on. That's the requirement that we have the public hearing is now closed. Okay.
Probably should be a motion to close.
Okay, all right, thank you very much, appreciate it. Is there a motion to close the public hearing? Motion by Mike, seconded by Roger, thank you, appreciate that. Those in favor, sorry, Mike? Ethan? Aye. Roger? Corey?
Aye.
Chair says aye, okay, public hearing is closed. Thank you, Mr. Mark, appreciate that. Okay, so we have item number 7B. We have consideration, board. We've been asked by the petitioner The petitioner has been through the public hearing process, obviously came before this body and, had a conversation with us some time ago to gather our interests and our support for their plans. As we just heard, they worked back and forth with staff considerably over some time and incorporated into their petition in their language. Some of the things that staff has presented. We just held a public hearing. Public has had a chance to consider this. We now have an opportunity to adopt the zoning ordinance amendment to the C3 zone. What's your interest?
Make a motion to accept the proposed zoning ordinance amendment regarding C3 zone, self-storage use.
Okay, motion by Mike. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, second by Roger. Questions or concerns?
Just one final comment. My main objection is one of, while I think the conditions are written in such a way that we're not gonna, it's technically not spot zoning, but it smells like spot zoning. So when I look at it, it looks very narrowly tailored to meet this specific property. So it's one that, to me, it looks like it. And so I would be in favor of expanding self-storage in the commercial 2 and 3 zones as an option by right, but more broadly applicable or through a conditional use process if we wanted to put extra conditions on it. This one looks very narrowly tailored to one specific property.
Thank you. Appreciate your comments. Corey, anybody? Further conversation?
No.
None?
If there were someone else who came in and they were looking to do this, and they saw, here's the ordinance covering that, they saw it was changed, and yet they needed some relief in order to adjust to it, what would they do?
So if we adopt this, another individual that comes in that can meet all the requirements of this ordinance.
But if they don't,
What's
their remedy?
They can petition, just like Ethan said, they can petition this body for an amendment.
Correct.
Yep. Okay. Okay.
The other alternative is the zoning hearing board. So, there are relief avenues with the zoning hearing board as well.
Thank you, Ralph. Appreciate it. Okay. All right, Mike. Ethan.
Yeah.
Roger. Aye. Corey.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks. Good luck.
Good luck. Good night.
Okay, moving on. Item number 7C, under new business, a request for traffic calming from a speeding complaint from our neighbor on Strasburg Pike. If you want to introduce yourself and then come up to the podium, if you would, please.
Good evening. Taking the tip of the spear on this. I'm the newest member to the neighborhood and it's almost like living, I don't think so, NASCAR. The speeding, the noise, the danger of it's just gotten to the point that, I watch this deer lady get her mail and try and cross the street, deliveries from that driveway, watching, most of our neighbors are on my side playing folks and they're pushing their kids up and down that road. And our neighbors have just shown, or the people driving through have just shown that they have no regard for us. So we started working with the police and they said they would try, Officer Jeff said he would try and help the area. They sit at the church, they have some lines on the road to gauge people's speed. Very little impact on that. So then we started a neighborhood yard signs. We put a bunch of yard signs out asking people to slow down and to avoid using their Jake brakes, and they actually retaliated. We got Jake brakes run all the way past us. We got big pickup trucks gunning their engines as they went past our house. Did nothing, and then the police put their radar sign for a week. No impact whatsoever. So we're here to ask for help. We just don't know what else to do to get people to slow down and have some regard for the families that are living here. The noise in particular is just
families. So that's a big problem, but the danger of, I would guess, an officer has that information, they have to be hitting 60, 70 miles an hour. And because we're kind of right at the peak, we can hear them take off at one end and just hit maximum speed past our house, so. That's why we're here. I thought she lived there for 6 years. Haven't even been to dogs. I'm Appleton, and I have lived on Frederick for 60 years. And Mr. Chairman, Supervisor, I'm here to talk about some things that, of course, the traffic has increased 50 years. Come on, let's.
A lot's changed.
A lot in that, and yeah, and it's hard to cross the road to my mailbox, absolutely. But I am trying to be careful. You don't have to watch for me anyhow. Okay, so just a couple incidences. End of last Saturday, August, we had a yard sale at my house. So if you're coming from Strasburg, you make a left turn into my driveway. And if you're coming the other way, you make a right turn. But if somebody stopped to turn into my driveway and there were people behind, all you heard were horns. Horns, impatient people we're dealing with. That's what we're dealing with here. People who are impatient, you have to get somewhere fast. And I stopped in at my granddaughter today. She lived at 38 Strasburg Pike. And out of the blue, she was telling me that they have the same problem when they turn to at 38 Strasburg, people being impatient. So we're dealing with a culture of people who have to get somewhere fast and are very impatient. What do we do with this kind of thing? I've been asking myself this afternoon. How do we slow folks down? As I said, traffic has significantly increased. And what is anybody doing? I never see anyone policing the road anymore. I used to see that. I used to have to slow down and make sure I could make it to my house without getting caught by the policeman. They're doing monitoring of the traffic. They're not doing anything to slow folks down. Please don't ignore this until someone dies. That's what happened at Windy Hill Road and Strasburg Pike. I think that's what happened at Rockville Road and Strasburg Pike. Somebody had to die before they put up a traffic light. How are you going to calm people down? I think it's a matter of getting people there who will show their who the traffic has to respect, who the traffic has to deal with. You know, I came across, I don't know the name of the road, from Eden Pitney Road. And when I got to the end at Pitney Road, there was a cop behind me. And he pulled over and he said, "Do you know you were going 45 miles an hour in a 25 mile zone?" I was so happy that day coming across that street. I had no idea. But now, since I live alone, I cannot afford to get another ticket. They might take my license and I will be gone. Nowhere. I will be going nowhere. So I've supported Amy in her journey to do this, and I want to just be here to tell you that too, because we need to do something on Strasburg Pike, and I hope that you hear
Both Amy and I.
Thank you, Mrs. Stern. Appreciate it. Mrs. Obiano. As you know, I live on the Strasburg bike. Staff has, as always, takes these concerns and we get a number of these through a year. And they would take it into consideration and, begin with, okay, let's just start to collect some data. Let's see what's happening. Let's find out, what's really occurring out there. Are they aware of the data from July 5th to August 3rd?
I don't know. It's possible that Lieutenant has shared that, but
No, he did not share any information with me.
So, we put our flasher. You don't know this, but a couple meetings ago, I referenced it. It slowed me down when I got to your house.
Oh.
It literally slowed me down. Because just like you, Ethel, you're in a 25 and you look down, you're doing 45 miles an hour. And so I did, and it slowed me down. I stopped to look at it. So,
Does the radar come up?
so from July 5th to August the 3rd, the 85th percentile vehicle speed, so, 85th, okay, was 43.29 miles an hour north and 43.46 south. So listen, every one of your concerns I share, I live right there. But, crazy as it sounds, the vast majority are in that 43 mile an hour speed limit.
That's really surprising.
The concern that we have, and you said 15 years ago, you thought Ralph Lee changed it. I thought it was 07. So when the bridge was closed, so that makes it 07 to 13, 16 years. You're right. So the bridge was closed, bridge was taken out in 07. So the road was closed for all but 8 months, 9 months. And the speed limit was changed. It's a state road, as you know.
What's the speed limit?
Yeah.
40,
Yeah.
40 to 35.
So the challenge is you present some of this data to PennDOT and they go, oh, well, we're frustrating most people out there, so we should just put it at the 40. PennDOT, one of their factors is safe movement of vehicles. Well, safe movement means keep them moving, There are things we can do. Painting the white lines. Getting PennDOT to help us to narrow lanes.
right. Most of the things that are available are things that we would have to request PennDOT to do. Yeah, all of those things are available choices for the board.
Over the past 10 years, Ethan has brought to us half a dozen or so examples where, narrowing the lane, it gets people to kind of, whoa, where am I? I got to slow down here a second. I'm not quite sure if I'm going over the yellow line or the white line, whatever the psychology of it is, And we've talked about that numerous times, trying to slow traffic. Ethan just lives off the Strasburg Pike. So he's right
I
there.
hear all the noise. It's gotten much worse.
So I'm concerned that that's gonna upset my neighbors if you wanna come in and start tearing stuff up and then they're gonna be mad at me personally.
It's just paint. It's just paint online. It's just paint.
Mary Rose, unfortunately, just a quick comment. Yes, traffic there is horrendous and it's super loud and I don't ride my bike all around, but except for that section. Because
So that's what I hear from other people is it's just so dangerous.
Well, there's no car. It's just,
and it's like and I'll ride on Mill Stream Road, which is also my mailbox gets hit about every week. But it really is people will drive as fast as they feel safe and modern cars make people feel safer driving at faster speeds. And there's nothing that's going to slow them down. Speed limits don't slow people down. Police officers will slow them down temporarily. Signs that blink will slow some people down, but 85th percentile means 15 out of every 100 cars are going really fast. And those are the ones you hear and see, and they're very dangerous. But unfortunately, there's state road, there's almost nothing we can do except for paint and maybe a sign. And that's if it's our road, there's more we can do, but even then there's you have to actually take more space and make the road curve if you want to have people slow down. If it's straight, people are gonna speed.
Yeah, and they've got a nice pretty shot there. I was wondering, do people slow down? Because you have kind of a natural chicane where you are. Do they slow down?
You'd be shocked at how fast they go there.
Uh-huh.
So I stand at the corner of the mill to cross over to go to my in-laws' home. And there is a storm drain that was put in 2007 when the road was closed. That storm drain is between the white line and the corner of my building. And that storm drain fits right inside there. And when you stand there and you look around the corner and see the cars, you hear them run over the storm drain. That means they're about 24 to 18 inches from the corner of the building. And they're doing 43.29 miles an hour. They just, and back to Ethan's point, you know, you got 15% that are doing something different than this.
It's a state road and it's considered a neighborhood. They dropped the speed limit to 25, that it was a state law that a neighborhood had to be 25. With that, if they're not gonna do 35, I don't know that they're gonna do 25, but
Yeah, that area won't fit the criteria of a residential neighborhood. We did that more recently in a different neighborhood, Plymouth and Clayton. Those roads down in there, which fit very more tightly spaced residences. And I forget exactly how far apart they have to be, but our area wouldn't fit that. So they go by the 85th percentile speed. They would go out there and measure speed very similar to the way we did and find that the speed limit should be.
really,
That's our concern, that we're gonna kind of poke the bear.
Yeah, the only disadvantage from PennDOT's perspective is that if it's 35 miles an hour, which it is right now, the township is responsible to post it, maintain those speed limit signs. If it's 40, then PennDOT posts and maintains those signs. So when you ask at that level, part of their motivation is, oh, they'll take care of the signs. Okay, we'll give them 35, but they're not going to go any lower, in my opinion.
The Jake brakes, you know, my windows literally rattle. They just do. And you know, I got to think that they're probably necessary coming down to the curb and the bridge. They're a safety feature. You know, trying
there's a
to.
curve or edge.
No,
With a 35, I can't imagine why you need an engine brake on a straight 35 while they're.
you know, I think, once again, a little concerned PennDOT's gonna say, well, wait a second, those are necessary, those are a safety feature on these trucks and these vehicles, and you know, I think we can keep putting up the flashing sign every couple of months, we'll put the flashing signs out there. I don't know, if this is really speaking to your concerns. I mean, I know what your concern is. I think Ethan's point is we can't change it.
Big. You guys have anticipated these new apartments going in, all gonna come down Strasburg instead of sit on through the lights and all the traffic. Any thoughts about that, adding a couple hundred more cars to our road every day?
Yes.
Anything that can be done?
I slow the traffic down.
I mean, the more traffic, maybe there's just bumper to bumper. I mean, you know, you've lived there for a couple of years now, but there are many weekends in the Christmas season that everyone's trying to get around Lincoln Highway, so they come back over Rockville to Strasburg Pike, and I'm with Ethan. I kind of like it because I can kind of walk across my street at that point because I'm walking between cars that are stuck all the way up to, you know, we have to provide infrastructure to support development. Property owners come to us with plans for development. You just heard one tonight. We try to work with them within the bounds, or they petition and work with us to try to make some changes and things. And Rockville private property owner is going to do what they're going to do there. We've been extremely engaged, very strategic in ensuring what's going to happen there is happening. You know, I talked to, I go to Eastbrook Medical on 896. Penn State had talked about putting in a whole new facility somewhere in the eastern part of the county. And a year ago, they decided to put new flooring down, and they're staying where they're at. So if someone has a plan, I mean, they can go to the property owner and say, hey, we'd like to put a medical facility in here and lease this property from you. We're not going to be able to stop that. We don't want to stop that, actually. We're looking for that kind of redevelopment, but what's happening there right now, the property owners moving head on a housing component.
I've heard some of the Amish are concerned about the traffic that would be added to like Gridley Road and that and their kids, because there's no way for their kids to walk to their school. And those roads and all that traffic on those. So.
I mean, I think we all talked about this, you know, during the conversation in 1985, I was running my Volkswagen Golf out Gridley at about 85 miles an hour. Probably. I was 17 years old, and Rockville was exploding at that time, you know, and employees, the commercial, you know, traffic. We're probably going to see a decrease in some of the traffic that's out there.
There will be traffic analysis requirements as that planning process proceeds. So there will be some information that'll be developed from that. But as far as trying to direct where those future residents decide to drive, still America.
I'm looking at the intersection at Rockville and Strasburg Pike and wondering when you will consider a traffic light there.
No, you want to speak to that?
Sure. Westland Peter Township did a rather complete analysis. Well, the township line runs kind of right through that intersection.
Oh, okay.
But Westland Peter, in response to crashes that have happened at that location, did a rather thorough analysis and decided that, well, their report indicated that the best solution is a roundabout at that intersection. And so that's being pursued. It's actually funded in the county's transportation improvement program. It's under design right now. The latest that I've seen as a member of TTAC is that it would be scheduled to be under construction in 2026.
I mean, that, I would say that definitely slows people down. When you see that, that's, you travel on 222 if you're going from, you know, down through Kutztown to Reading and that area. But I feel you're paying completely on 896. The very same things you're talking about are what the neighbors are talking about from the Jake Break to, and it's close to 45 there. So you can, that's a half-mile stretch from Waffle House to the old Philly Pike. And I mean, and they're redoing what was Good and Plenty to be a medical facility for plain folks. So, I mean, you know, these are concerns. I think the state has, did the state police say anything to you? Have you talked to them?
I only remember.
Well, thank you. I appreciate
Okay.
you keeping us in mind.
Absolutely. It doesn't go unheard. I mean, we're trying to do some things. I think, you know, we could consider the painting of the white lines.
If that's
You know,
what the board would like, you know, motion to authorize me to send a letter to PennDOT asking to narrow the lanes to 10 feet wide, painted lanes.
Motion to authorize staff to reach out to PennDOT to request narrowing the lanes to 10 feet, painting the lines.
yeah, good. It's been your mantra, Ethan, and I do think it does work. So, okay.
My mantra was copied off of our streetscape plan when I
Yeah.
read the presentation, and learned that fact.
So, Ethan's motion, Mike's second. Questions, concerns? Okay, hearing none. Mike.
Aye.
Ethan. Aye. Roger. Aye. Corey.
Aye.
Kara says aye, motion carries. Thank you, staff. Appreciate that. Thanks, ladies. Appreciate it. Thank you for coming.
Just a reminder, we're the only state in the nation that doesn't allow municipal police to use radar or laser for speed enforcement. So contact your local state representative and state senator and tell them to push through Senator Rothman's bill. Thank you.
The message brought to you on behalf of the local police department sitting in Pennsylvania. Thank you, Corey. That was good. Thanks,
Sure.
lady. Like it. Action items 8A, appointment to the zoning hearing board alternate. Caleb Riddleberg, term ending 10/2/25. Caleb, you want to come up and just, we all know building. Just introduce yourself.
Moved into the township about 3-4 years ago now, 3 years ago. Eagle Scouts, so civic duty, things like that are in my history, and I like an alternate level, which is about where I'm willing to participate at right now.
Wow, Eagle Scout. So you're getting like every badge imaginable for that building right now. That is unbelievable. So
And maybe it was Sisyphus and like along the stone of the hill. He resonates with me.
yeah, I can see that the stones, it's getting to the top. It's about to crest.
Yeah.
No, you have done a fantastic job. Thank you.
Definitely a little bit of an undertaking, it still is, but have it stabilized and rain coming out and picked out, I think, all the squirrels now, so that was a win. You know, last week, maybe a squirrel jumped right across your shoulder, and yeah.
And are you family? You have a family there? Children?
No.
Spouse?
I'm still a bachelor.
No, I mean, if not, she probably would have left you by now because of, when are you gonna finish this house? Holy cow. I mean, it really is impressive. Thank you for doing that. So alternate zoning hearing.
Yes.
Um,
I talked to Colin about basically participating in something with one of the different agencies like Parks and Rec or whatever, and this came across the desk, he threw this at me, and I was like, I guess zoning works. Seems like a little more of one of the more volatile positions, of course, compared to some of the a little more laissez-faire ones, but
you'll do this fine. So as an alternate, Tara, how many times have you had to call on the alternate?
Let's see. In 9 years, probably 8-9 times.
Once or twice a year. You may be called upon, but it gets you introduced to the township, into the community, into staff and issues, and you get to learn some things. So
it's also engaged in your local community.
yeah, that's great. It's great. Questions of Caleb?
Sure. Thanks for wanting to help out. We'll take it.
Yeah. We'll take it. So
I'm not ready for these types of roles right here.
Yeah. We won't plug in yet. So Mike Thornton is former principal of high school, and he retired and then came on this board 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Mike?
Yeah.
2 years ago. Ethan Demi's been on the board for 10 years. Boyd Meyer for 10 years. Roger Wood, this is your second time around. Planning and the Board of Supervisors. Alternate the zoning hearing board. And then ending my second term. So yeah, we just engaged and involved, and just like you, just taking an interest in having your voice heard and serving the people. So thank you for doing that. Appreciate it.
I'll do this.
Well, Tara and her team will train you up well. So Colin's really good at that. So okay, Corey, anything else?
Nope.
Nope.
Good. Thank you, Caleb.
Okay. Is there a motion to appoint Caleb?
Motion to approve Caleb Riddleberg to alternate zoning hearing board.
Okay, motion by Roger, second by Mike. Mike? Aye. Ethan? Aye. Roger?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
And it says aye. Relations.
Possibility of favorite.
Thank you. Thanks, Kelly. Appreciate that. Thanks for serving. Okay, 8B, a request to authorize hand-in-hand fire police to provide traffic control for the New Holland Fair.
Received this request from New Orleans Borough, which apparently they're trying to use that hand in hand. Would like to do this. They provided a letter requesting. So because it does involve the potential for workers' compensation claims, needs to go through the Board of Supervisors. So that's why it's before you for your consideration.
Hand in hand's interested in doing it.
They are. They have a relationship, I guess one company fills their air tanks on a regular basis and they'd like to reciprocate with some help.
Yeah, okay.
This is the first time that this has come across my desk. In 32 years.
Well. Jennifer, go ahead.
In the workman's comp potentiality.
Well, for their volunteers, it would be, but for our volunteers, if they get injured, wherever they go, it's our policy.
All right.
Thoughts, questions?
Can authorize hand-in-hand fire company to provide traffic control for New Holland Fair.
A motion by Mike, second by Ethan. Questions? None? Mike?
Aye.
Ethan?
Aye.
Roger?
Aye.
Corey?
Aye.
Yeah.
Aye. Yep.
Aye.
Aye.
Chair says aye, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much, staff. 8C, comments on the Lancaster City Comprehensive Plan.
As the board members may know, the city's been going through their comprehensive planning process and they've reached the point in time where they're getting close to adoption. And as part of that, they reach out to their planning partners and their neighbors for comment on the draft plan. Our staff has reviewed the plan and Colin prepared a letter for your consideration that will go out under John's signature if the board approves, to respond to their request for comment.
Overall, I mean, Collins, I see, his comments here, I think recently we heard where some of our neighbors were not looking at regional anymore.
Yeah, candidly, I haven't reviewed the document. Tara's been through it more than I have, so.
So the city comp plan came in two forms. The draft form was very in-depth and very analytical. The form that we see now, which is up here if you want to take a look at it, is really an implementation tool. And one thing that we noticed is their strength along the Conestoga River. They took the time and energy to really look at all of the municipalities along the Conestoga and the Conestoga as a resource, which we did in part through the Bridgeport plan as an economic resource, as a recreation resource. And they looked at opportunities where surrounding municipalities can take advantage of that resource to its fullest benefit, because we're not currently. A few things that we were a little concerned with was the density at 9 units per acre. That's slightly lower than what East Lampeter has been doing in the urban growth area. And so we'd like to see that a little higher in certain neighborhoods. And the properties that we share in our odd configuration near Bridgeport, near Greenfield, along Pike, we need a little bit more consistency in there. And one that really rises to the top is the LSC property. In fact, we had a direct communication with the city planners about that property because we'd like to see a different use there. We'd like to see a higher and better use there with more housing and more mixed use opportunity there, and that's not in the plan fully.
And their response?
They were open to discussing it further, but we haven't seen that in the final plan.
Thoughts, comments to staff? Good. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't seen the technical piece. I mean, at the high level, they have their neighborhood mixed use next to our mixed use, but I don't think theirs is as expansive as ours is. They have their commercial industrial next to our business park zone, which at the top level seems to align, but the details are where it gets a little tricky, but I haven't dug into it that far.
Trust you guys are taking into it.
We did in both rounds.
Good. All right, your interest.
Make a motion to approve
a letter in response with comments on Lancaster City's comprehensive plan.
Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Mike. Questions? Hearing none. Mike? Aye. Ethan?
Aye.
Roger? Aye. Corey?
Sorry, I couldn't find the mute button. Aye.
Fine, and chair says aye, motion carries, thank you very much. 8D, consideration for award in reference to a purchase of a used bucket truck. Ralph.
This was an item that was in the budget for this year at 126,000. Staff put together a spec for a used piece that we thought would meet our needs, and got responses from 5 vehicles, 3 different vendors submitted bids. And the low bid was from Bill Jones Equipment Company for $110,156.14 for a 2013 model that has 119,000 plus miles on it. All of the supporting information is favorable. It's a piece that we think would serve us well, and would recommend an award to the low bidder.
Okay. Interesting.
By way of further information, this is a piece that isn't fitted out with the storage compartments and things on the back. It's more of a flat piece, but there's room left in the budget for us to add those to make it a more complete piece.
Okay. What's your interest, gentlemen?
I'm looking to accept the award from Bill Jones Equipment, I'm sorry, the bid from Bill Jones Equipment Company for purchase of the used bucket truck. Cost paying $150,000.
Mike. Second. Okay, motion by Mike, second by Roger. Questions? Hearing none. Oh, sorry.
So I'm assuming the engine hours on the one for $114,800. That was sold before we even had a shot at it, right?
Correct.
Okay.
He submitted the bid, and then as soon as we started doing research on the information, he said, no, that one's gone. So,
I mean, that information alone would. If it's sold, it's sold, but the 114,800 for the engine hours probably would have been purchased.
I would not argue.
You're correct, and someone else got a great deal. Okay, motion by Mike, second by Roger. Okay, Mike. Aye. Ethan. Aye. Roger. Aye. Corey.
Aye.
Says aye, motion carries. Thank you. Number 9. 9 is manager's report. 9A, Ralph.
Thank you. I'm gonna ask Tara to speak to 9A, mostly because we've gotten to a point with our MS4 program where as you may know, the annual report is due from the township up to DEP every year. And we've done that every year and submitted. Not sure how many of our reports have actually been looked at by DEP, but we set them up every year. And we've been doing that for quite a while now, and we're continuing to work the program, and it's provided results, I think. But I do have concerns about where things are headed in the future, and I'm going to let Tara speak to that.
So as Hutch said, we did submit the report. We do get an email correspondence that says they received it every year. So that's a good bonus. The Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection administratively extended all of the MS4 permits till 2025. So we'll continue to submit these annual reports. In this annual report, we noted that we met 90% of our required reduction. If they actually open our PRP and review it, which we submitted in June, and we were told August 30th that they haven't even flipped the cover yet to review it. So we say that we are at 90% because as part of that PRP, you will recall, We agreed to an I2 Capital program where we would buy credits from I2 Capital for agricultural programs and projects that would help meet the reduction for sediment. At this point in time, we have met all of the reduction for phosphorus, all of the reduction for nitrogen under our current permit. Most of that is because we had agricultural programs and projects in this PRP. We have 58,900 pounds to reduce yet. Now, we did have a private-public partnership with a landowner, and that fell through. And that fell through for a number of reasons. DEP has not been swift in approving our projects. If you recall, for the Peckway project, we waited 18 months for DEP to approve our project. This was a DEP funded project, a DEP approved project. It was in our PRP, and that we had 3 months to actually construct that project. DEP came out and inspected that project. And when we went to report in our annual report this year on that project, they wanted us to redo all of the calculations. They found a new way to formulate the calculations and asked us to redo them. It resulted in a lower reduction for that project. So we fought that. About half of what we would have done. So we fought back. A few other things have come along through this permit cycle. One being the fact that our street sweepings under the bay, we were allowed to count 50% of all of our street sweepings. That would have amounted to an additional 185,000 pounds of sediment. And I'm using round numbers. In 2020, we were told that no longer exists. We're allowed to count 1 year. 1 year, and that's it. Now we actually.
You never again, or what?
That's correct. Per permit cycle. So we've done that, but what we've done is we've dried out our street sweepings, we've dried out our inlet cleanings, we've held them, and then we actually test them for what we're getting rid of. That increased our nitrogen, phosphorus, and sediment reductions in our street sweepings. The fact that we have to do a PRP, which is a planning document, have DEP approve it, have worked out with landowners that, with private landowners, that this is all going to work on their property, and then can't change the PRP without going back to DEP for approval is absolutely ludicrous.
How much staff resources are you talking about? I mean, you know, this is requiring time from you and your staff to get this done. Now you got to go back together.
Oh, absolutely.
Again, you know, so, you know, what is DEP's understanding of all this? They're obviously limited in their resources. They're not opening your email for.
I don't disagree with that.
They must be hearing this from others.
They have absolutely heard this from others. The fact that the goal changes halfway through a permit cycle or every year through a permit cycle does not allow the township to work to the maximum extent practical to meet the actual goals of the permit. Because the bar is constantly changing.
Do you get any reports as to how many townships actually meet the September 30th deadline versus those that?
No, sir.
You don't know.
I'm not sure they share that information, but we don't know.
Yeah.
Huh, so they don't share a metric that says of the, whatever there are, 3,600 municipalities or something, or, you know, 85% not meeting exceed or something. There's no metric out there.
I've never seen that information.
Yeah, now, you know, the number of municipalities in the state is 2,600 roughly. The number that have MS4 permits is a much smaller number. than that, but, you know, the other thing that's coming is although they extended this permit cycle for 2 years, you know, the sort of scuttlebutt as to what's going to happen in the next permit cycle is frightening.
It is. And we need to know that within the first quarter of next year, because if the permit cycle ends in 25, the township's going to be responsible for submitting an NOI in fall of 24. We have to do all of the planning to know what we're submitting for in a very short amount of time. So if you all recall, in 2017, 16 and 17, we did 2 studies, one along the Peckway and one along Mill Creek and Conestoga. That gave us that's a lot of calculations. It gave us the load reduction that we would need to manage in the upcoming permit cycle, which would be 2018 to 2023. We now have to take into account all of the projects we've done through this permit cycle. We also have to take into account all of the projects that were done through 319 funds, because that actually reduces the load into the waterways. However, we can't count those because they're federal funds, the non-point source pollution fund. What I'm getting at is, if we don't know by first quarter of 24, we're going to have no idea as a municipality what we're putting a notice of intent for in fall of 2024.
For 2025, beginning of the 25 cycle.
Right. And we've gotten absolutely no direction from the group or committee in Harrisburg that's leading this charge.
So you're making this known, right? You're calling this out. You know, I mean,
That's the purpose of this tonight, is to make you aware of it. We are working on it. We'll continue to work on it. We'll, of course, continue to work to meet our permit obligations.
Are our state reps and our state senators being made aware? Are you communicating with them? You know, one of the largest departments the state operates is causing this much confusion and anxiety, and really, you know, in my estimation, you know, an impossible set of expectations for local government to fulfill.
And who are the key oversight committees for it then?
For DEP,
That might be where the letters gotta go, the leadership there, and at least asking our local people to say. This is not like, I was gonna ask you, who are the key people that have to work on this? Because you have all kinds of other job descriptions that those people have to be engaged in. You're moving the goalposts. The system, when you say a flawed permit system, that's an understatement.
Yeah, I have not had recent conversations with our immediate township representative folks, and I will do that to make sure they're aware of what we're facing. And then look for their guidance on how to proceed forward in that regard. But
PSATs in particular.
PSATs is very much engaged in this.
Good.
I mean, at the
Let me give you
conference,
an update where we're at. We are continuing to have conversations with private landowners and working towards meeting that final goal of the 58,000 pounds, because we're convinced that one day DEP will open our PRP and actually review it and approve it so that we can purchase the credits through I-2 capital. Because those are good projects.
Good. Thank you.
Thanks for the chance.
Yeah, thank you. B.
Yeah, we had a great celebration on Friday out at the Walnut Street Extension and Heritage Pathway. Just wanted to point that out to everybody, and you know, it's a facility out there that's usable, and it is being used. So we're excited about that.
Great, well done, staff. Well done. My remarks.
Leadership was key there. So.
Thank you very much. No, appreciate that, Mike.
some very nice acknowledgements, Ralph, of your staff been working with obviously partner in so many ways with us. For sure.
Yeah, there were no less than probably 4 people who came up to me and specifically said, hey, over the years, working with the staff has made a huge difference in what we do. And it's just great. I called it out, from the podium, but, to hear them, I just said, it's great to hear you say that you're recognizing it, and there's no doubt. So thank you very much. Ethan, thank you for being there on bike with helmet. It's great. Mike, thank you so much. Appreciate you being able to carve it out. I know, Roger, you were unable to make it, and Corey as well too, but it was good. It really went well. I thought represented the community well. I think, from a cross section of people, it just really said, it's a pretty special place. So thank you all very much. Okay, 9C.
Yeah, I just wanted to make another announcement about the housing study public meeting, which is Wednesday of this week, beginning at 6 in the evening. We hope people attend and participate. Our consultant's ready to make a nice presentation. And anything else you wanted to say about that, Terry?
We did get the revised economic and real estate analysis late today, so I haven't even been able to make sure all of our comments were addressed. As soon as I do that, we'll be able to release that to you all.
Is it possible to get that out? You post it on the website prior to the meeting so people can come with some questions, correct?
It depends on my schedule tomorrow.
If you can,
Or even if it's the previous report from last month, at least.
There's some things, there's some good data, or there's at least spotter people have that can engender some questions or thoughts or.
The goal is to get feedback that might be beneficial rather than just hear it and then
Not be able to give feedback.
you digest it.
Yeah, something out there for the public that would be good, that they can come with something in mind. Okay. Thank you for that. That's it.
I didn't have anything else.
Okay. All right, good. Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, motion by Ethan, second by Roger. Mike. Aye. Ethan. Aye. Roger. Aye. Corey.
Aye.
Chair says aye. Motion is carried and the meeting is adjourned. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for logging on. Appreciate that.
Absolutely.
Thanks for
See you
helping
guys.
out.